Good evening. I'm having the kind of slow ass day enough where I can record 2 in one day. This is going to be the first one. I'll use instead of my comb this time, I'm going to use this as my little microphone, this non-usable weed pen. I don't know if I just need a charger or whatever. This is going to be the first time I'm going to try editing a video. So I'm recording this on Thursday of May. Yeah, it's around like May 30th. Yeah, Thursday, May 30th. And through editing it and like including everything I want to like cut out or add to this video, I'm hoping to have up by the beginning of next week, either by Monday or Tuesday. I'm gonna try to put more edits of either album singles, album covers, things like that up here. So anytime I like referencing up here, I'm gonna try to edit in some of the album covers. Just check for that. So yeah, today I'm going to be covering 21 Pilots' Clancy album review. I'm covering this because I've heard every 21 Pilots album, I believe. The ones that stuck with me the most are Blurry Face and Trench. The last one with that dragon on the cover of it, Frost and Ice, or whatever the fuck it was called, wasn't that impressive. Kind of been a big gap for them. I think they haven't made an album since 2019, 2020, so it's been a few years. And they're not coming back strong with this one, I'll say that at the front. But let's go off my notes and kind of go from the top. We start with Overcompensate. It's one of the singles. It has a piano intro that kind of starts leading us in after the first like 20 seconds to 40 seconds of like a synthy, bouncy instrumental. Kind of leads us up and finally drops fully at 45 seconds, like into the song, like around the first minute. This had this voice in the background kind of saying the "Welcome Back, Trench," which I'm like, oh, okay, we're kind of retreading some ground of themes. Like, I know they like to theme their albums around things, have stories to their albums, but I will be honest, outside of like Blurry Face and Trench a little bit, I don't see the story albums that y'all see. Like when I see 21 Pilots talk about like, oh, the stories in the album is so good, it's so rich with lore. Like, unless you're talking about the things outside of the music, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about these albums having like story albums. They are not that dense, it's not that deep. It's kind of just a pop album, and then they drop the lore outside of the album, which is okay, but like, I like albums that give me the story in the album, dog. Like, good examples of that's like freaking Denzel Curry's Taboo is a great story-laced album with 3 different sections, 3 different acts. You kind of get a good fluid narrative of the story about how like it kind of gets darker as it goes on, talks about his brother's death, things like that. Like, that's a core theme to an album. That's what I fuck with. Things like this, I'll get to my main rant about it at the end, but I'll save my energy for that. Overcompensate's pretty good. It's a good single, good one to intro to us. About a beat change halfway through the song. Quote from me earlier. My comment on the rap verses for this is going to be pretty common throughout it, but I said that cheesy white boy rap is back, but the chorus is catchy. Drums are good. The vibe the whole time is good. The verse repeats 2 times by the end. Not a lot more to say about it. Decent intro, not stellar. And I think this is a common thing with the main singer. I don't know his name. I'll look it up here. The main singer rapper for the album. But I just don't, whatever he's doing with that white boy rap, I can't get into, because I'm like, there are good white rappers out there. There's like Mac Miller, A$AP Rock. Mac Miller, rest in peace. A$AP Rock is one that I follow constantly that I love and is like, I think, a pinnacle for what white rappers should sound like. You could even throw Eminem in there. I like this is a very white person thing he has to say, but Eminem was one of the first rappers I listened to because my dad owned a copy of it when I was younger, like very young. But he's not like, his newer shit's just dad rap. His early shit, like the first like 3 or 4 albums, I still fucks with and I'll still go revisit sometimes, but it's not like stellar anymore. Like, it's like we can move on. You know, he's trying to move on, and I think with that next, I will cover it when it comes out, the Death of Slim Shady album. I'm excited for that, because I'm excited for seeing him like enter a new era past this dad ass rap, past these like cheesy, edgy bars. I want something different. I know he can do something different, he just won't. So hold on, let me find out who the main singer name is, 21 Pilots. Y'all probably gonna grill me in the comments for this later on. Tyler Joseph. Tyler Joseph is the lead singer of 21 Pilots, and he does okay on this first song. It's good, not stellar. I'll still stick with that. Next Semester with another single. Favorite so far. On revisits, I really like it. It's really groovy, good rock intro to it. The chorus shifts into more nostalgic lyrics and nostalgic feel. I remember certain things. What I was wearing, the yellow dashes in the street. I prayed those lights would take me home. Then I heard, hey kid, get out of the road. And I really think that like boosts us back into the song. I love when he repeats that part later on in the song, and the groove to it gives me like a good like riff to older 2000s songs and rock songs. I really like that. The guitars and drums here really make the song. That's kind of my main comments on this one. I've heard this song probably more. I've heard this song more than I've heard the album. I've heard the album twice now. I don't think I'm going back in for a third revisit after this review. I think I'm just gonna pick out like cherry pick my favorites. We're going into Backslide. It was another single. Has a really good chorus. The first verse really good intro leaning into the song. They really front loaded the album with these 3 singles though. It's an interesting way to kind of set us off, but it's not unusual for pop albums to do this, especially to do something like formulated, like put the 3 or 4 singles, maybe up to 5, 6 singles sometimes up into the first half of the album and then lead us into new songs. It's not unusual for pop albums to do that. If you focus on it, pop albums do that often to kind of like catch people back into familiar things. This is more pop indie rock, I'd say. Pop, indie rock, and like electronic in some areas. It's kind of synthy is what Tone Pilots gets into sometimes. I think this one isn't really my favorite, especially when that second verse starts losing me. I really fuck with the synth or keyboard or whatever they're using for the outro. It's really good. It's really good leading to the next song, and I like albums that do that, lead into each other and kind of string each other along. The next song is Midwest Indigo. Like a peak premium pop punk beat in that intro. Like again, love the guitar, love the drums. That's kind of like my main focus on this album is really kind of get focused into, because I'll be honest, I tune out the main singer often. Tyler, I tune out Tyler often. His choruses are good. His voice works in the choruses a lot. The verses, I could give a fuck in most of his songs. I'll be real. And some of them are like topic wise not that bad, but I don't know why his singing style and his rapping style especially, I tune out so hard. It becomes like most of these songs on my future revisits are gonna be playlist fodder. I'll be driving in a car, it'll come on, and I'll kind of gauge out if I want to keep it on the playlist or not. Back to Midwest Indigo, kind of focusing song by song. I will say, like, at this point in the album, the singer's already starting to lose me. The drums and the guitar and the production in the background is pretty good. The lyrics are vapid as fuck. It goes into Routines in the Night. It's good. It's pretty catchy. I would say it's close to being one of my favorites in the album next to Next Semester. But honestly, I'll say the verses are so boring in this one. You could listen to the first 30 to 40 seconds of the song, and that's pretty much the whole goddamn song. I'm only not mad at it because I like that chorus. Which leads us into Vignette. And when I say leads us into, this is one of the type of albums that doesn't flow like the Vince Staples album I just covered. It just like cuts next song. Song fades out, pause, next song, which is a bit irritating to me as a listener. I like when albums flow together. Even in like playlist revisits or shuffles later, I like when they flow as a project. It feels like a project, like it has an identity. Vignette is another case of like we get in the first 30 to 40 seconds and it's just, the whole song is like the first 30 seconds. I really like it at some points. I just can't help at this point to tune this motherfucker out every time he says something in the verses. The choruses are good. He still writes a good chorus. The instrumental was good. I just don't know what it is about him as a rapper that when he sings, he's fine. When he starts to rap, I'm like, this motherfucker trying to be the poppy Eminem. My second listen currently on. This was my second listen going into for this review. My notes are kind of shattered in that way. On first listen, I had no other but the first five songs what I liked. I do like this one more now on revisits. I would really like it like better in a shuffle or playlist. Only because I feel like this second roundabout at the end, like the 2.5. Yeah, this ending part at the 2.5 minute mark from on really helps drop a lot of build up. Like a lot of these songs will just like start, go, and then kind of keep going the same pace till it ends. This was one of the first songs next to Next Semester. Like Next Semester, like verse was pretty good, pretty similar to everything else. Chorus took a bit of a jagged turn and took a tune that I didn't really expect and really catchy, really catchy. I liked. This one is like pretty much same. Last minute or so, took a turn, that built up and dropped, that I really liked, that like really brought everything together, like a big cacophony of breakdown. I can't even say cacophony, that's giving them a little too much credit. In a good breakdown. Next we go on to The Craving, Jenna's song. This is the only acoustic song so far. It's not bad, but if you're gonna have a song like this that's this slow on a synth guitar drum album with so much focus on those, let it be the outro. This kind of killed any momentum the album had so far, slowed it down way too much. Also, he hasn't really endeared me enough to like his personality to carry a song this slow yet. You'll learn this about me through future reviews. I'm not a big fan of slower albums and slower songs. I like Mitski, I like Phoebe Bridgers, but only in a certain mood. The majority of my time, I want things that are keeping me going. It's like giving me something. Like, if you go too slow, you're boring me. I need a little bit more. Really good artists can do like a slow song interjection in albums, and they'll still wow me, but it takes a really good artist to do that for me. Next, we lead into Lavish. What a weird tone shift, and I kind of like it on the second listen. I didn't like it on the first listen. Second listen, it grew on me. I kind of threw it on the playlist to kind of revisit later. Kind of indie pop vibe to it. It's a bit glitzy, kind of like how the title suggests. I can hear the chimes and bells buried in the mix. What a detail. I love adding new instruments to the album I haven't heard yet. Only song on it with this. I love the line, keep the mood androgynous. Lines like that really hit me as being someone who presents feminine mask and androgynous, and some days I don't want to present either. I just want to present in the way I feel, even if that doesn't really define in a certain way. You'll hear me bringing that up about my non-binary identity in the future. So just know that, you know, I do appreciate people, if you do end up commenting more about things like that, respecting that identity. Let's see. Kind of losing me. This album's kind of losing me at this point. That's where I'll kind of wrap that back up around. It doesn't exactly flow seamlessly, and that kind of like on revisits that starts losing me too. That I'm like, this album just feels like a collection of singles, and more than half the album wasn't dropped as singles, so it's not a good sign for me. People like Dua Lipa can drop an album that sounds like singles, and it still hit for me because the songs are just so good. So I think the contrast here is that 21 Pilots isn't a band that's good enough to just drop an album of singles and make it feel cohesive. Next, we have Navigating. Good groove, not many complaints outside of the album starting to feel samey by this point. Also that the word navigating is a hard word to pick to be catchy in a chorus. By the end of the song, the word kind of feels like one of those words that if you repeat it enough, it just doesn't feel like a word anymore. It kind of just loses its meaning. If this album had a theme or story, I do not see it by this point. It's kind of begging for identity. Then cuts to Snapback. This one from the jump is slow, plodding, and this is the part of the album where it really becomes a sludge to finish the fucking album. I like the throwback to Backslide as a reference in two parts of the song, but it's a total skip for me on revisits at this point. Oldie Station, another skip, another boring song, so slow. I tuned it out so fast, I forgot to like take in-depth notes by this point. But is there really much to say at this point? They really front-loaded the project. The first 5 are the true highlights and not much else. Then we get At the Risk of Feeling Dumb. Repetitive drums, the production are the only glue holding this album together for me. That's really the drums, guitar, and the production in the background is the only thing really holding together this popsicle stand of a song. And then we hit Paladin Straight. The only last comments I really have for this song, for like the rest of the album, off this like song by song, and I'll get the album synopsis at the end, was that this song is a, all caps, long ass 6.5 minute outro is the last thing I want by now, dear God. And then I gave a little bit more in depth because I was reading and I finally pulled out a book to kind of like let it, like, that's the thing. That's the thing with this album and most 21 Pilots album. 21 Pilots is a background album artist. They are a background listen artist. If you focus in to a 21 Pilots album, you're like, all the depth that you think these albums hold are so fucking shallow. Like, that's kind of where my rant's gonna bring me here too. Since I've heard a few of their albums at this point, like, you could say that maybe the album with like their grandparents on it are like, has like a deeper theme to it. But if you actually tune into what he's saying in the songs and like the core topics of the songs, they are so fucking vapid and so shallow. And like, it's a good background listen, but it's one of those albums that's like, I'll put like half this album on a playlist. I'll shuffle it out. I might let it ride in the car, ride in my headphones if I'm busy with work, if I'm driving somewhere, if I'm getting food or something. But will I ever revisit this project as a whole? No, probably not. Maybe once more before the end of the year to like give it another shot, because hell, why not? But like, this is one of the ones I'll forget about by next year, and I probably won't think twice about it. The last full notes I have as the album as a whole was that Paladin Straight has a good guitar riff near like the 1.5 minute mark when the beat finally drops in. It's a little easier to enjoy, still falls in the background though. And then the song ends at the 4:30 mark. But we have like a minute of silence, and then we get a 5.5 minute mark or so, a ukulele outro. The ukulele thing's kind of bad timing with that fucking Colleen Ballinger thing. Ukulele's a little cursed for me now. But the song itself, divorced from that, still pretty all right. It's an all right slow outro. It references the Banditos, which is a throwback to Trench, but it's not a great sign to me that this album's biggest core theme is references to other albums in its like story. The story to this album is pretty much non-existent to me. Like, there is no through narrative to this. My final scoring would be like a 4 or 5 out of 10. This was a good EP of songs to me. Give me the first 5 songs, maybe Lavish, maybe Vignette on certain days, but even those two might end up coming off my playlist later. So that's kind of my main rants for the new 21 Pilot album. Decent. If you're already a fan, you might like this more than me. If you're someone who has never heard a full 21 Pilots album in full, don't go to this one first. Go to Trench. I would say Trench or Blurry Face is the two highlights that I would say go there first if you want like a good 21 Pilots album. This one kind of just shows to me that they're kind of past their peak, and they honestly have been past their peak. The last album wasn't that good either. So, you know, I'd give it a shot, because for newer albums I always like it doesn't cost me a lot to use Spotify and throw it on and give it a shot. And off second listen, I'm like, yeah, I've kind of narrowed down everything I really want to extract out of this album. Kind of took my surgery apart on it, and then picked out what I need, and that's it. Let me know what you think about this album in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, share the video with your friends. At the least, give some comments about what you thought about the review, if you liked it, if you liked this album, if you think there's any albums like this, or I won't say that. If you think there's any album that aren't like this that you think I'd like better, or just in general, if you think if you disagree with my 21 Pilots takes, go ahead and leave a comment. That's okay. I will engage with it. Yeah. Love y'all. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Have a good weekday. Eat well. Drink water. Go outside at least once today. Yeah. Love you. Bye.